Hey all, good morning.
Hi, good morning, sir.
Very good morning. So with my link, shared link, whoever joined, they need to, okay, they're directly logged in here with my name. It is generated.
Yes. This is Manish Soni, sir.
Okay. Can you check, do you guys able to rename?
Yes, I will.
Or else just ping your
Yeah,
mail IDs and numbers in the chat.
Mm.
Or else let me do this quickly. Hi Lalit.
Hi, sir.
Hi. Good morning. So who are joining first time my sessions? I see many of them from my regular batches. Is anybody new today?
Yes, sir. Me, Mahesh.
Mahesh and anyone else? Abhishek, Balraju, Lalit. Raise your hands if you are new. We have reactions options, right? There you have raise hand option.
Yes, sir. I am also new.
Just can you please all raise your hands who are new today?
Sir, I am Naina Bhimjiani.
Okay. So you also new today. 3,
Yes, sir.
4. Anyone else? And Manish?
Yes. So I actually belongs to 730
Acha.
batch, right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah,
He-
I don't remember all the names. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sure. Thanks, Manish.
Yeah, hello. So it's Abhishek actually. I'm new to this particular session actually.
Okay, Abhishek. So yeah, whoever new here for this particular sessions, right? Yeah. So I'm basically giving this session who is having the Spring Boot knowledge. Okay. Uh, Particularly we are using these tools like Swagger, Lombok, and all in our Spring Boot and microservices development. For you, if already having knowledge about Spring Boot microservices, it's great. Still, it's fine if you don't know also. You could able to understand these topics, but later you better learn Spring Boot microservices as well. Okay. So, do you guys know Spring Boot microservices? At least Spring Boot? Abhishek, Mahesh.
Yeah, so
Yes, sir. Spring Boot, I know.
Okay.
yeah, I am having some little exposure to Spring Boot. I mean that Spring JDBC, I mean Spring Boot with Embassy and that JDBC part and the core part actually.
Great. Okay. So for new guys also, it's okay to attend. Anyway, later we are going to start Spring Boot microservice sessions during our regular session, right? There once again we will discuss these topics so that you will get clear idea. Okay, so we will start quickly in next 2 minutes. Let me record this session. Okay, recording is already started. So I'm sharing my paint. Do you guys able to see?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here agenda for this workshop session, In next 3 hours, we are going to continue it. Okay. So next 3 hours, 2.5 hours to 3 hours session, I'll be conducting. Okay, on the topics. The first one is Lombok. Okay, and the second one is Swagger, logging, and Mockito. Okay, so let me give brief about each topic, why we need these topics. Okay, these all are, you know, open source frameworks that we have available in the market to achieve, you know, some features or to add some features to your application. Okay, already if you are developing an application, they will provide some more add-on beautiful features, right? They will, you know, help you a lot in terms of application development, in terms of application documentation, in terms of application maintenance, in time, you know, it will help you like for your unit testing also. Okay, Lombok is a tool. Okay, Lombok is a tool. This tool will help you, you know, it will help you from the particularly from Bean's point of view. Java Bean classes we write a lot, right? Java Bean classes and Pozo classes, right? So during implementation of this Java Bean classes or Pozo classes, if you want to, you know, we write a lot of setter methods, getter methods, right? Lot of setters and getters and parameterized constructors. And if you want to make your class immutable, we will make immutable classes by making the class final immutable classes. And we will prepare builders also. For these classes, we will prepare builders also. So particularly from these classes, right? If you want to achieve all these features, manually we need to implement them, right? If you want to achieve all this for your Java Pozo classes or Java Bean classes, you need to generate by using Eclipse IDE or your you know, STS IDE you use to generate setter getter methods for your code. And if you need any parameterized constructor in your class, you use to generate it. At least few know that how to generate them by using Eclipse. Okay, few they used to still hard code them, still they used to code them, setters and getters, constructors. And for immutable classes, like making all the variables final and, you know, blocking the access to your class, you know, outside. If anybody wants to access your class to modify it, it will not allow if it is a mutable class. You know about mutable and immutable from string classes. And builder also, if you want to prepare your own builder pattern, you need to write a lot of code. Technically, you should be strong to do this, to do this final immutable and builders and parameterized constructors, generating getters and setters, that you are well aware of them. Okay, so using Lombok when you implement as a developer, you can avoid all this. You can avoid all this with simple annotations, right? Using simple annotations, we can able to achieve them without writing the code. You need not to write any code. At runtime, the proxy will be generated for your class when you use Lombok. So as a developer, this burden will be reduced if you use Lombok, right? In your application, if you wanted to provide for your Java Beans or any Pozo classes such features, that all features Lombok tool is providing. Okay, that is what Lombok is. Coming to Swagger, right? When you implement any application, right? Particularly Spring Boot microservices application. Coming to microservices application, we develop the application as a backend developer. Consider you all are pure backend developers. You develop a app. Consider you are developing backend app. You are a backend developer, something online food delivery system you are developing. So you develop backend part and front end people will ask you, you know, They will ask you what you implemented as part of backend, how many methods you implemented, what is the request structure, what is the response structure. So the front-end people obviously will ask. Let's say if it is online food delivery system like Swiggy. Okay, so the backend part, if you work backend, right? If you are working in a backend part, you need to help to the front-end team to understand your API structure. Backend and front-end, if both are different, right? So they should be able to understand how you implemented your backend part. Okay, so using this Swagger, right? Between, if you configure this Swagger documentation, right? This is a documentation tool. Using this documentation, right? This front-end people can understand what you implemented as part of backend. Okay, what you implemented as part of backend, so that easily they can make calls to your backend. Otherwise, no clue, right? You need to prepare documentation on your own. When it comes to Swagger, there are given, automated, UI support, particularly in Spring Boot, right? When you create a backend application in Spring Boot using the Swagger, one UI will be generated, one dummy UI will be generated. Using this UI, front-end team can understand what kind of request structure, response structure, what kind of objects you have, what kind of error codes you have, everything they can easily understand. So Swagger is also open source for the documentation purpose. Documentation purpose to share more details about your backend APIs. Not only for Spring, Swagger given support for every technology. Okay, so using this Swagger UI, you can generate even backend code also, right? Generally, as a Spring developers, what we are doing from the backend code, we are generating Swagger UI. Using Swagger UI also, we can generate backend code. But full-fledged backend code, we cannot able to achieve. So we generally, our approach is we develop backend code and Swagger UI automatically we generate, right? We have that support. Okay, so how it will help if you learn Swagger as a backend developer, easily you can able to share knowledge about your backend application to the front-end teams or any third-party clients, right? For anybody, if you want to give API, let's say weather information, if you wanted to share across multiple clients, similar way, if you want to share daily gold price or dollar price, one API you want to implement and you want to share it to all the banks. If they wanted to understand what is the current gold price or what is the current dollar price, something like that. Backend API, if you have, if you wanted to share details to the, the clients using this Swagger, easily you can able to share the knowledge. They can understand how you implemented your backend part, what kind of methods you have, accessing methods, right? So that we can achieve using Swagger. Okay, coming to logging. Okay, logging is the one of the most important thing that we need to have in any kind of application, right? Why? Because when you deploy any application, right, and when you are using, particularly let's say a banking application you are running, okay, a bank application you are running, customer coming to this bank application for doing fund transfers. One customer is coming for doing fund transfers or for doing payments, right? Some payments you are doing or some recharges you are doing from this bank, right? Customer logged into that bank and he made some operation. So when he made that operation, because of some so and so reasons, because of backend database issues or database busyness, or because of insufficient funds, something happened in your backend. Generally, right, in Java, if something is happened, it will throw immediately exception. It will not stay ideally, right? So backend, if it throws some exception, or backend, if it is behaving weird, right? A customer don't know what's happening in the background. Okay, so customer got some error message or error screen in the front end, his amount also deducted, something happened from his side. Okay, so when he informed, he will call to the customer care, and when he inform what's happened to my request, so immediately customer care team will create one issue, right? One issue they will create and they will inform to this bank application development team. One customer raised a request when he tried to do fund transfer. he got some error screen. So they will report that error details, more details to us. So then we need to inspect what's happened. We need to inspect, right? We all need to jump into that application and we need to see what's happened there. So to understand what happened to this application, how you will inspect, if you can maintain this bank application, if it is maintaining every request details, right? Every request details in logs, we can easily able to understand, right? If they complete details, if they log it, every request details, response details, and exception details, everything, if you can log from your code, right, it is easy to us to understand what's happened. And during this logs also, right, to observe these logs as a developer, again we will ask when the customer made the transaction, which time, during which time he made the transaction, so that easily we can go to the logs. Inside these logs we can easily see time and date, right? When this has happened, using this time and date we can easily search and we can able to identify during that time, during that date, if this customer comes in here, we definitely can see his logs here. So using these logs we can able to understand what's happened to his request. From this logging we can do this, right? In microservices, again we have some observability patterns also, right? So what happened to that request, easily we can understand by using these observers. Okay, so coming to Mockito now. Okay, so using Lombok you achieved automated getter method, setter methods, and using the Swagger you generated some kind of intermediate UI to communicate about your backend application to the front-end teams. Using this logging, you are understanding what's happening to your application during some critical problems. Easily we can understand by visiting the logs. Coming to Mockito, right? You all might heard about the JUnit. You all might heard about the JUnit. Okay. So using Mockito also similar to JUnit, but JUnit will do end-to-end testing. JUnit will do end-to-end testing, which means if you implement a code, backend code particularly, right? You implemented a backend code. Generally, we follow MVC pattern, right? We implement controller classes, service classes, DO classes. Finally, it connects with your database also, right? So we implement all these classes. Controller will do the communication between service will do the communication between DAO. Finally, DAO will interact with databases. This is how we will implement. If we use JUnit, what happen? JUnit will do end-to-end testing. If you run a JUnit test case for this controller class, right? So for controller, one method is there, register students. If you try to test that register student, it will execute your service, then service will execute your DAO. Then finally DAO will store data into your database. Okay, so every time when you perform this JUnit testing, when you perform this JUnit testing, some dummy data also will be produced inside your database. Generally, why we need to use these JUnits? Why we need to use? Because there are so many benefits if you use JUnits, right? There are so many benefits. As a developer, when developer writes his code, right? When developer writes his code, he can test his code by using JUnit, right? He can test his code using Java code only. He need not to go to UI. Let's say if you are working in a big project, in a big company, you are working in a module. You don't know how to integrate it with a UI in a bigger view. You don't know where at least this application UI is there. Okay, so you want to make sure that at least your part, whatever you implemented, your part, you want to test it. So it's easy for developers using JUnit, right? You can test your code so that you can understand your behavior, whatever controller methods, service methods, whatever you implemented, their behavior is proper or not, as per your expectations it is executing or not. You can able to understand it. So for this JUnits, will execute end-to-end. Unnecessary data will be inserted into DB. So to avoid that problem, we use Mockito. So in case of Mockito, it will execute all these flows with the dummy data without disturbing other layers. Okay. So Mockito will make sure that independently you can test all the layers without putting some redundant data inside your databases. So it is so much useful tool for particularly unit testing. Okay, so these all are the topics that we are going to see today. Okay, yeah, Mahesh, you raised hand. Any question?
No, sir.
Prerequisites, just a Spring Boot. If you are aware, that is fine. For many of you may not aware of Spring Boot also, it's okay. At least try to understand the concept wise. Again, when you see them in your application development, right, or during our Spring Boot sessions, you will easily able to adopt it. For Lombok, simple Java, core Java knowledge is enough. For Lombok, simple core knowledge is enough. The Swagger also, it's not a big deal. Okay, core knowledge with the minimum boot, simple boot application. If you know Spring Boot, that is enough. If you don't know also, it's okay. Just try to understand what Swagger is doing. Okay, and logging, right, basic core Java must be enough. And for this Mockito also, generally we will develop this Mockito using Spring Boot only. Okay, end-to-end mocking of your objects I will show you. Okay, Spring Boot is not a big deal. I'll show you one Spring Boot sample application first. Okay, then we'll show you Swagger and Mockito examples also. Yeah, so anyone want to know anything more about this prerequisites or anything? Okay, basic core and Spring Boot knowledge is enough. Okay, so we will start with Lombok. Okay, we'll start with Lombok. So using Lombok, we understand, right? Lombok will help you to generate default get setter methods and constructors, and it can make your class immutable, and it can provide builder pattern also for your class. Lombok is providing all these features. Okay, without Lombok, how we will do them? Let's see a simple example. Okay, I'm going to share. Do you able to see my STS screen? If not, let me know.
No, sir.
Still you are seeing paint only?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, now?
No, sir. Fine.
Yeah, you can able to see, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So for Lombok, first thing, yeah, for Lombok, right? First thing, you need to install Lombok in your machine. Okay. So for that, you need to download Lombok jar file. Okay, just Google it. Just Google it. Lombok jar. Okay, download project Lombok. So here you have this download link 1.18.24. I believe I downloaded.
Sir, is
Go on
still
mute. Yeah.
sir, is still Spring Tool Suite
Acha.
window is
ID
visible.
only showing,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Let me show you. Yeah. Now you can see, right, the browser.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. So go to this and download this Lombok jar file first. Simple thing. Just you need to download Lombok jar file. 1.18.24 we have here. Let me see which version I downloaded. Must be the same version. Okay, I'm sharing this link. Okay, download it, copy link address and sharing with you. Okay, I'm adding into the chat. You can download it. Okay, you can download this Lombok jar. Do you all have Eclipse or STS in your local machine? If you are all attending from,
Yes, sir. STS I have.
okay, so do this. Just download it first. Okay, if you are in mission, if you are attending from phones, okay, later you can log into your machine and try it. Download this jar file. Once after you download with it, just go to your Lombok jar file, whichever you downloaded. Okay, so you will see Lombok jar.
Yes,
The
sir, I
execute.
downloaded.
So just double click on that jar file. So you will see one pop-up. Do you guys able to see this pop-up? When you double click on it, you will see this pop-up. Do you guys able to see? I clicked on my
Yes,
Lombok
sir.
jar file. It is running this one installer, Lombok 1.18.24 installer. Something it is showing scanning your drivers for IDE installations. So it is searching for basically your IDEs, how many IDEs you have. Let's say you have STS, you have Eclipse, you have, yeah, this one. Not NetBeans. IntelliJ, right? If you have such IDs in your local machine, okay, it will search for all that IDs. It will show that IDs here. Okay, yeah. After some time, see this, it is showing Eclipse and STS, both it is showing here. Are you able to see, right? You guys able to see? Eclipse and STS here. You guys see, right? Do let me know if it is lagging, I will wait.
Yes, we could see, sir.
Okay, so after scanning, it is showing both IDs. Okay, so what you need to say, install. Okay, both are selected. If you don't want for Eclipse, deselect, but for both, let's enable it. Okay, enable for both and install and update it. Install and update. Click on quick installer. So it will install into your both IDs. Now let me share my STS. Okay, already it is installed. Let it install one more time. I don't think it will take much time. It must be installed. Okay, now what I will do, let's create one Spring Boot app. Simple Spring Boot app I'm creating. A simple app I'm creating. Spring Boot starter project. Lombok demo. Creating a simple Spring Boot app. So here I'll use Spring Boot Web. Lombok dependency also I will add. So just it will add Lombok jar file. That's it. That's these two are enough for me. Okay, just creating one Spring Boot app. See what I did. I just went to file, new Spring Boot starter project. You guys able to see my STS, right? So here give application name, project type, required Java version, and next select Lombok and Spring Web. Bus. Click on finish. Okay, one project is created. Excuse me. Yeah, okay. So I created a Lombok demo 1 project in Spring Boot. I'm not doing anything. Okay, it's a simple Spring Boot app. Okay, simple Spring Boot app. Try to understand the dependencies whichever we added here. Go to preferences, font. Let me increase the size. Okay. Okay. So see this. This is a Spring Boot project. Okay. So if you already know about Spring Boot, it's okay. And Java 17 it taken, fine. So a Spring Boot project created, and the Spring Boot parent version is 3, the latest version. Okay. So this is the parent dependency that we have from Spring Boot. So all the associated dependencies are belongs to this parent only, which means they are from this version. So Spring Web version I added, and Spring testing version, and Lombok also added. See, org project Lombok dependency added here. Okay, Lombok is added here. Lombok library added. Is it saying mandatory? Okay, so I'm using Java 1.8 version only. Okay, a simple Spring Boot project created. I'll run it. I'm not doing anything. Just I will add one port number, because Spring Boot, you know, right? It will have internally its embedded Tomcat. I'm just going to run that embedded Tomcat in 9090. So simply this is the Spring Boot app. Okay. Error, JNA errors. Please check your installation and try again. Let me create one more. Java Lombok demo. Next. Let me use old version. Let me add web and Lombok dependencies. Go next. Finish. Okay, let it finish. Yeah. So my Spring Boot application is started in port number 9090. Inbuilt Tomcat is there, so that I didn't even install the Tomcat. Okay, I don't want to explain you more about Spring Boot. So it's a simple Spring Boot project. In this project, now I am going to use the Lombok. You will see how it works. Okay. Let me create a controller class here. Okay, I'm going to create a simple API. Student controller. So when you say it is a controller, you need to add REST controller, and I'll create some dummy methods here. Public student, add student. I'm going to create one bean class, student class. It's a simple bean class. I need some properties here. Private int, student ID, private string, student name. So this is bean class, right? For bean classes only, we are going to provide setters and getters, constructors and all, right? So I have ID, name, email. And if you want to add address, add it. Generally, when you create a bean class, what you do, we right click and we go to source. We generate getters and setters. We generate getters and setters. This is how we generate. And if you want to provide toString method, we right click, we go to source and we select generate toString method. You know, right? Using this toString method, we can understand what values we have in this object. And if you want hash code method and equals method, you generate it. Source, generate hash code and equals method. So IDE providing you support, you need to just click and generate them, right? Using IDE, you can just right click and generate all this hash code method, equals method, toString method, generating getters and setters.
But excuse me, sir, one second, show me that right click. What is the option? Right click.
Yeah. For toString method, for generating setters and getters, right? First thing for generating getters and setters, right click, go to source option. You have option here, generate getters and setters. In generate getters and setters, let me remove them once again. Okay, I just have variables. I need not to write any code. ID itself is having support, okay, to generate them. So this is one way. Using Lombok, you even need not to generate it. That is next level. Okay, one level, generate getters and setters. Okay, so for which variables you want to generate getter setters? For all these variables I want to generate. So then what you do, select them, use select all, and access modifier for your generate and getters, setters and getters is public. See, it is generated all the getters and setters, including your ID. ID is set ID, get ID. For name, get name, set name. For email, get email, set email. So you need not to write them. Basically here you need not to write them. You can generate them. Okay, easily you can generate them. You need not to write. Okay. And after that, I want to generate equals and hash code. Go to source, generate equals and hash code. We have an option, generate equals and hash code. Again, select all and generate it. Equals and hash code. You know the need of equals and hash code to understand your object is equal or not, and to identify your object hash code. It helps. Now, toString method. If you want to generate toString method, go to source and there is an option generate toString. So toString method will do what? When you try to print your student object, it will print your data. What is your ID? What is your name? Directly when you create some object, student std equal to new student, and when you try to print system.out.println student, right, you could able to see your object data. Okay, so this method will help you to understand what is data inside your object. And one more thing, if you want to generate constructors, you can generate constructors also. Right click, go to source, generate constructor. Two options you have: constructor using fields. You have using fields in the sense parameterized constructor, generate it. So you can see one parameterized constructor also. Okay, and one default constructor. If you want, just click Control space and generate it. So one default constructor also came. Okay, see, for this variables, we generated one parameterized constructor. We generated getters and setters. We created equals and hash code methods, toString method. This much logic you have implemented. Now let me create one more object similar to this. I will name it course. I will name it a course object. I will name it a course object. In this course also I want course ID, course name, okay, duration. That's it. Now for this class also I want the same features. For that same features now I'm going to use Lombok. To provide getters and setters for each variable, what you can do, put @setter and @getter here. So which means it will provide setters and getters for your methods. You need not to write any getters and setters now. Practically, I'll show you how it works. So generating getters and setters are avoided. Automatically, it will provide setter method and getter method for your course object. You can try it. From anywhere, if you try to create this course object and if you try to access these variables, it will provide you through setter and getter. Who's generating these setters and getters for your object? Lombok is generating when you add these annotations. So the first way is I generated getters and setters by doing IDE support. I did right click and I generated them. Now in the second approach, I'm not doing anything, just adding simple setter and getter annotations from Lombok API. See, from Lombok it is imported. Lombok getters and setters are imported here. This is one way. Other ways also we will see. Okay. And I want to provide toString method for my class. So here also you have a toString option. So put this toString annotation. It will provide a toString method. And I want to provide argument constructor, put all args constructor. It will provide you an all argument constructor. And I want to default constructor also. So put no argument constructor. Like this, so many annotations we have. Okay, so these are the basic annotations. We will go to the next level also. Okay, now let us try to use a student object here. Okay, so if you don't know, it's okay about it, but try to understand. This is a simple API I'm creating. Request to body. I wanted to accept a request from user. And finally, I want to give response back. So I don't want to do anything here. When user request, right? Request to mapping. Create student. When somebody call this create student with this student object, right? I wanted to register this student here into one list object. I'm not using any database concept. A simple list I will use and store it. List will be deleted if you restart your application. As soon as you restart. Now add your data into this list. List.add student object is gonna add here. Whatever you send it. Finally, return your object. So what benefit you are providing here? You created a API, create student with the REST controller, which means somebody can call this create student from Postman, right? From any web client or from any UI. So when they call this create student, when they pass this data, right? This ID, name, email, address data. When they pass the data here, request to body will try to call setters and getters of your student method. Particularly, it will call setter methods of your student to pass whatever data given from the user. This set ID, set name, set email, it will use to store data into the student object. Who will submit? Client will submit. So that setters and getters, you generated it. You generated manually. You did everything manually. Same thing, let me create it for course also. I will create course also. Create course. request body, add course. So here I will add course object. I'll create one more list, course list. Let me name it a student list. All the student records adding into student list, courses adding into courses list. Excuse me, just a minute. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry guys. So now I have two methods. In this method, user is trying to populating data. Let's see this example, okay? I'm going to paint once again. So we have one create student method implemented. Create student. So here we are trying to add a method, add student. In this method, we have a student object here as an input. So who need to pass this data? User will pass this data. Okay. So user means student will pass his data here. Let's say student himself, he want to register, he will call this method. Maybe from UI, he will call it. We will use postman instead of UI, okay? He will call create student in the form of JSON, okay? He will use JSON format data, ID value, name, his name, email, and his address. Something in the JSON format, if we send it here, right? ID, name, email, address, these are the variable names, same variable names which we have in the student class. In our student class, we have these variables. We coded these variables as private variables with the public getters and setters. In the student class, we have coded them with public getters and setters. We have these variables with the public getters and setters, right? We have setter methods and getter methods. So when user submit it here, when user submit data from here, right? User submits data, that data will fall into the student object. The data directly will store into your student object. How it will fall? By calling your setter methods. Spring will call your setter methods. Internally, it will utilize your setter methods to populate data. It will use setter methods to populate data. So in the student class, the setter methods are mandatory. Similar way, admin is trying to creating courses. Admin is trying to creating courses. Again, he is also submitting JSON data here. ID, course name, duration. Something like this, he's sending it. Course data, he is sending it to course controller. Course controller method, like we have add course method we have. In this add course, we have course object. So in this course object also, you need getters and setters. You need getters and setters to populate the data here. Whatever course object you have, this is also should have getters and setters. But in my code, I'm not creating it. I'm not providing any getters and setters in course class. Just using annotations. Let me minimize the font. So now course class is having getters and setters. You able to see this course? Is it very small? Okay. So I have course class with variables with getters and setters through annotations. Actually, you need setters to store your data. Here you don't have. Still, Lombok is providing it. When you provide the setter annotations, which means you are giving access to your course ID, course name, duration through this setter methods. During runtime, the setter methods will be generated in your class. Same like this setters and getters, during runtime for your class also, setters and getters will be generated, okay, for your course class using a proxy object. One more object will be generated for your course with the setters and getters. So now when this admin try to register, when admin try to call this add course with this course details, right? This course data also can be stored successfully, okay? Because you have setters and getters via annotations. You need not to generate them. Via annotations, you have them. Now let's try and see. Run this application and see whether it is adding them properly or not. If you want, you can print your object also. ToString method also there, right? That ToString method will print your object. Print your student object in console and print your course object also in console. both will show data. Run your Spring Boot app. If it is already running, shut down it, restart it. Okay, application is started. Now let me open Postman because I don't have UI here. Okay, it's a simple REST controller. I can call it from any other clients. Okay, so I have a student object with ID, name, email, address. My URL is 9090, which is running in 9090 port number.
There seems to be your
And,
screen again hangs. Stop.
Yeah. You can see, right? I'm in Postman.
Yes, now we can see.
Yeah. So go to Postman, choose here method type post, or let me show you from the beginning. So click on new request. New collection, new environment, new API, template, API network. Okay. So open a request and make it post type. Okay. Both two methods should be post methods. Have we mentioned it? No, right? Let's create them like a post methods. Get method also you can keep, but not recommended, right? Let me make it post method. The method type is here. Request method should be post. HTTP method post.
Sir, we are only on the Postman screen.
Sir, voice is not audible.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'm audible now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Localhost 9090. Add student. Send your data here. So let me copy this JSON. Choose raw and input type is JSON. Post your data ID 1 something Harlin at gmail.com HYD. Okay, name, email, address. We have the same variable in our class also, right? Let's submit it. What I'm seeing is 404. Which means wrong URL pattern. Achha, it is create student, right? URL is create student. Yeah. Now okay response, I got it. So response, I got it, same student object. Whatever I added, I got it here. Okay. Now let's go to your IDE and see the output here. In system.out.println, I printed the student object. Same object here, it is printing ID, name, email address. Of course, it will print because you have toString method. You override in toString method here. You implemented toString method here in student object. So when you print your object, you can able to see all this data from this toString method. Okay. So you can able to see it. Data successfully populating into student because you added setters and getters. This is fine. Now call the same ways course method also. Okay. Create one more request. One more post request. Create a course. Course is having which parameters? Course ID, course ID, course name, and duration.
Yeah, hi sir. By defaultly in Postman here we are taken JSON object, but if we taken any UI, how can we identify it is a JSON object or XML object?
You need to set it. We have so many UI, JSON string objects, right? There you need to construct your JSON object either manually and you need to override all the default parameters and send it. You want to know whether it is JSON or not? That is what your question.
Yes, sir.
So then I said, right, Swagger, in Swagger, we show all the request and response structures. The documentation you need to provide, otherwise how front end will know whether you need JSON or not.
Yeah, okay.
Correct? Yeah. I need to tell, if I am a backend developer, I need to tell you that, hey, please use JSON object as an input because I'm accepting JSON input from the backend side. Send it. Now data sent, course ID 0, course name null, and duration 45 days. Duration is applying, okay, because see, wrong naming conventions I used. Same name I should use, right? Course ID, course name, submit it. Now course ID, course name, duration also populating it. Now let's visit your code and see. So your course data also printing here. I don't have toString method, how it is printing. I don't have setter methods, how it is setting these variables. All this is happened because of your Lombok annotations. You given setters and getters, you given toString method. Okay, so it can able to access them. So one is you written the code, lot of code. So if you see this code, people will feel sleepy. When somebody see the lot of code while somebody coded something, and if you try to read and understand it, when you try to read it right, we will get definitely frustration when you see the huge code. But if you see this code, no code, you feel that, okay, it is easy, a simple application. Okay, so for readability wise, if you see, it is simple to read. Easily you can understand, okay, we have course ID, course name, duration with setters and getters, with parameterized constructor, with no argument constructor, with toString. Chalo, I understand about this course. But if I ask you to try to understand about student, you will see line by line. Okay, one constructor is there, one parameterized constructor is there. What is the super? What it is doing? Then getter method, setter method, what's happening around? Right, everything you will read and you might confuse. But if you come here, the readability wise and the time wise during development also, right? Not, you need not to spend a lot of time here. Easily you can add this annotations and go ahead and consume them. Similarly, here we have, apart from this annotations, right? We have one annotation name called @data. Okay, so let me comment them. Setters and getters. Okay, same code, let me copy, comment it. I'm removing this getters and setters to achieve the same thing, right? To achieve the same thing, without getters and setters, we have data annotation also. Data annotation. Use this data annotation. If you use data annotation, see by default what it is saying, I will provide toString, I will provide all argument constructor, I will provide no argument constructor, and I will provide getters and setters. Equals method, hash code method. It is saying by default, I am going to provide all these. So you need not to add them. So you need not to add anything. By default, it is going to provide you all these getter, setters, required argument constructor, toString, equals, no argument constructor. If it is not providing, you add it. Okay, remaining it is providing. So one annotation itself will provide you everything at the rate data. If you see somewhere at the rate data on top of any bean class, what you need to understand is, okay, class by default, you go on mute if you are not talking anyone. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So when you see at the rate data annotation with Lombok, you need to understand that that class is having by default all the setters, getters methods, and parameterized constructor and toString method, equals and hash code methods also. Everything. It's a fully implemented class. You need to believe that it is a fully implemented class with setters and getters. Okay, with all argument constructors, with the toString and equals and hash code methods. A simple data annotation itself is going to provide all this, so that you need not to use even setters and getters. You need not to worry about all other annotation. One annotation is alternative for all the features. Just data. That's it. Let us restart our application and try using course. Once again, our application is started. Let's try to register course here. Lombok. Course. 1 day. Submit it. So Lombok course also created. Course ID 2, Lombok course 1 day. See your console. In your console, you can able to see course ID, course name, and duration with the toString method. But I don't added anything. If you see, I commented everything. toString all argument. Just added no argument constructor with the data. This is also not required. When there is no all argument, by default, no argument also will be available. Okay, so no argument constructor also not required. And by default, setters and getters, toString, equals and hash codes, everything will be provided by @data. You see, this is the proof. It is loading it. Okay, and one more annotation is there. Let me put that annotation here. Let me shut down this application. Instead of data validation, let me make it value annotation. Okay, see value, what it is saying. Generates lot of code which fits with the class. That it is a representation of a immutable entity. Equivalent to getter, field defaults, make final true, access level private, all argument constructor, toString and equals. Try to understand this statement. When you use value annotation, earlier we have @data. Okay, commenting it. Now for value annotation, it is saying generates lot of code which fits with the class, that is representation of an immutable entity. So in interviews, you might be seeing this question: how you will make your class immutable? How we will make any class immutable? If anybody don't want to change data of your class, you should not give the access, which means your class variables should be private, Of course, my course class variables are private, and you should not provide any constructor also to provide this data. You should not give allow access through constructor, and you should not give access through setter methods also. And you need to make all your variables private. And your class should be final so that nobody can extend your class and modify it. Final classes are not extendable. Okay, so nobody can extend it and nobody can break the rule of immutable. So just for that sake, you need to add simple value annotation. Now let's see. I'm saying this is a immutable. It is saying immutable entity. See whether it will make immutable or mutable. I'll try to create a course from it. Let's run your application. Application is up. Try to create a course. Lombok again. ID 3. Lombok. Save it. I sent this 3. Still it is able to save.
Sir, does it mean that we also don't have the getters and setters for this class?
No, it will provide getters, no setters.
Okay.
So how it is populating? So here it is using all argument constructor to populate your data. And fields should be final. All argument constructor is able to populate the data. Using all argument constructor, you can able to store the data. Okay, of course. If your object wants to accept data, you can send it, but you can't able to make the changes because you don't have any access apart from your constructor. You don't have setter methods to override the data. Okay, so think that the way somebody whoever is using here, they are trying to overriding the data. Okay, in course field, user is trying to send some data, and if somebody want to modify the data, if they try to use it here, right, before adding it, course dot set, no setter method. So you are unable to call it set, no setter method it is allowing. Only getter methods you have. So you are trying to modifying it, it is not allowing you. So then what is the way? Is there any other way that you can modify your data? No, all your gates are closed. You can't modify this object. So as it is the same object, you need to send here. Okay, so that is the simple difference between data and value. If it is a data annotation, you have a setter option also. You can easily modify it. Let's say if you have data here, instead of
maybe we can just only get the data, or we can just view the data, but we can't modify it.
You can't modify it. That is what the immutable. You can't modify it. Okay, using all argument constructor, it is allowing you to populate data. Thereafter, you can't modify it. Okay, so now I added data annotation. Now see, as I added data annotation, I'm making this duration by default 5 months. So I'm allowing my developer to do modifications here. He can able to change whatever user submitting it. Now, if user submits data, that data is overriding. Intentionally somebody overriding it because you given access through data annotation. Send this course now. I given data course ID 3 Lombok and 1 day. Here I am getting course ID 3 Lombok with 5 months. because somebody doing override. But if you make it something inaccessible, use value annotation if you don't want to give access, so that user need to populate the data. If you have any mandatory fields that only need to populate, should not modify it. Make all such objects with the value annotation. If you don't want to give access to do the modifications apart from populating from user, just make it @value. Okay, then it will freeze your object. Whatever data you get, just utilize it. Don't modify it.
Yes.
So, sir, Abhishek here. So, sir, here actually, we need to conclude that by providing the data annotation over, value annotation, it is actually overriding the restriction given by the, value annotation, right?
No, value annotation, I removed it.
Okay. I thought it was there.
No.
Oh,
Let
okay.
me make it both. If I put, I don't try, but let's make it value annotation also here. Both are there now. Okay, value and data. Okay, value is overriding data. It is not giving access.
Okay,
So
okay.
even you have both also, the high preference is going to value, not to the data.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one more thing, I have one query is like when we are providing that annotation as a data or setter getter, let's say if we have some requirement like debugging purpose, actually, if I want to include some sysout statement at the getter level or setter level, so how can we achieve that particular objective?
As we don't have methods, is there any scope here to print it? I'm not sure, but during runtime it generates a proxy. You need to jump into the proxy. I'm not sure how to do that. Let me try. Let us try this in a debug mode.
Okay.
You can able to see the value, but you want to go to setter method for a reason. Let's see. Debug as Spring Boot app. Let's put debug statement here. So I submitted there. I got request here. Okay, it came to data annotation. Now step into it. Source is not available. Maybe if you can add that source also, right? You can able to see. You are trying to debugging Lombok also here. How each property they are adding. So go to here and see variables, course object. You can able to see from the Eclipse window. If you want logs, right? You cannot print here. Maybe you may log here. As you have access, right? You can log it here. Sysout course. But it is not your question, right? Course name, duration, if you want.
Yeah.
There should be an option. I'll check it. Okay. In break, I will check it and let you know. There should be an option.
Okay, fine, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, but the basic idea of this Lombok, you guys understand, right? With very minimum code. you can able to provide lot many features to your class, right? Using simple data annotation or by using simple value annotation. Apart from this, there is one more beautiful annotation given called builder. Let me add it, a builder annotation. When you add a builder annotation to your class, okay, when you add a builder annotation to your class, what will happen? All your methods will be generated like builder methods. You know, right? Builder pattern. Okay, when you add builder, right? How it will make your methods or these variables, right? For your class, it will generate setters and getters. Let me give one example for one setter. Let me comment it. Set the course name, get the course name. When you add builder, right, it will provide one setter method and one getter method here. Get course name with the return type of course object only. Generally, when we implement setter methods or getter methods, we put void for setter, and whatever value we want to return from that getter, we will put that return value only. Okay, so here, okay, for setter method only, not for getter. Getter, it will provide the whatever value you have. So after adding this data to your object, right, the same object, it will return this. The same object it will return. So the advantage over this, right, when you provide all your setter methods with this, let me generate them. Source generate getters and setters. Let me add toString method. Now go to all setter methods. Instead of putting void, put the return type course only, and at the end return this. Do it for every setter method. Now from this, right, you guys able to see, right? So from this, I'm not getting any data from user. Okay, so if user not submitting any data, if user course dot get name dot equals empty string or is empty, if it is empty, I wanted to create object and I want to store some default data, understanding that he is a CoreJava guy if he is not passing any data. Okay, empty object if he is sending, I want to consider him as a CoreJava person. So here you create a object, course object, or into this course object already created, right, by Spring. Course dot, you can set your course ID. By default, I will set it ID1. Generally, if it is a void, right, the return type is void, you can't do anything. Just you need to ignore it. And again, you need to call course dot. This is how you will add parameters, right? Course dot set ID, course dot set name, CoreJava, course dot set duration, 3 months. This is how you will set data. Instead of this, as we added builder pattern, what you can do directly, you can add one after another setter method. This setter method will set this value and it will return the same object. So as it is returning the object subsequent to this, right, you can call another setter method and you can call another setter method. Directly you can add all this set duration one after another. In a single statement, you can add all of them. Builder, as you implemented it as a builder, in single line itself, you can set all this. Because once after setting, the same object it is returning. So on that same object, I'm calling setter method. Already that object is containing course ID. On that same object, I'm calling course name. So finally by here, course ID, course name is available. Again, on the same object, I'm calling duration. So the builder is providing this feature. Without you providing this builder options here, also, it should work with the builder annotation. Let me run this code and show you. When user is not passing any data, he's not giving any data here. User is passing default object with no data. He submitted it. When he submitted it, I created a default course, CoreJava. So I created a CoreJava course by default. Using what I created it, using my setter methods only. And that setter methods I'm calling in a different way. Instead of each time reference.setter, using builder pattern, I'm calling setter on top of setter, another setter on top of that setter, another setter. This is how also you can call when you have builder in your object. Okay, the same builder you can provide here without all this code. Just use builder annotation with your data annotation. Bus. Your task is done. Builder is going to provide builder features to all your setter methods. What's happening? Create so-called builder aspect to builder.
Sir,
Yeah.
Abhishek here. So by using that builder annotation, actually, is there any other use of this annotation is there apart from providing the default value of that properties values?
Builder will provide constructor also, constructor generating with all the fields. Such as static variables using class name without object. Yeah. So builder will provide itself its object when you access anything, right? Its own objects it used to provide. It is saying you need not to even go with it. How do I get the value? It is not able to provide. If I provide setter method also, do I need to create in a different way? Just a minute. Dot builder we need to call to create the instance of it. Then we can call the fields. So you may construct this object course dot builder, then call directly your fields. You can call your private fields. Okay. Sorry, forget it. Yeah. So you call this course dot builder. Okay, it will provide you object. Okay, a brand new object it will provide, or when you use the same object, right, it will provide you private instance of it. Okay, via builder only call it your course object dot builder and all your variables, course ID, course name, duration, which means you are calling setter methods of it. Okay, when you call it, which is calling your variable and assigning these values to your variables, something like your setter methods, but the same naming conventions we are not seeing. When you implement your own setter methods, you may follow that naming conventions. Okay, so I think this is enough. Let me run. I'll create a document. I will add something more, right? Whatever I'm missing, if I miss anything. So now builder we have, which is generated by @builder. Let's access your class. Going to Postman and submitting it. Again, sending dummy data. Your data gone. How? Okay, we are building a brand new object. We are building a brand new object. We are not taking this into the consideration. So just make sure you are printing the same object. Finally, I'm calling build. It is providing a concrete object. Let me restart and print the same object. So I don't have even setters and getters, right? Okay, setters and getters. I have toString method. Let me put data only. Okay, now course is created with the build. So we used it in a different way. Instead of calling setter methods and setting up the data, we are building a brand new object and we are constructing data here. And finally, by using build method, we are getting our object and consuming that object here. Okay. So more about builder, I'll share the document. Okay. Just we are here to understand about that annotation. It is providing all the builder features. Okay. So these all are the features from your Lombok, tool, or you can call Lombok framework. It is given all this setters and getters. Even for your controller classes also, if you have any auto wiring objects, right? Generally we use @auto wired, and dependency we will put here private. Let's say you have date as a dependency, date. We put like this. So without auto wired, we can do auto wiring with the parameterized constructor also. Right? For auto wiring, we do it. Source, add a parameterized constructor for date only. So this is how we add. So instead of that, if you want to add a argument constructor, you can add here argument constructor also, all argument constructor. No argument, all argument. Okay, so you can provide all argument constructor. So whatever dependency we have here, this strict dependency, if you have only one or multiple dependencies, okay, add this all argument constructor, automatically it can be auto-wired here. So you can use across your application, not only in your POSO classes. If you want setters or getters or all argument constructors, or if you want to make it as a builder, you use anywhere. Okay. Yeah, that's all about these annotations. Okay, let us revise what all annotations we used. @getter, @setter, and alternative for them we added @data,
value,
@value to make it not readable. So here it is exclude of getter. Getter is not available in value. Not getter, right? Setter. Setter or getter. Value is not providing setter annotation to avoid the modifications of your object. And we understand about toString. And we have one more, equals and hash code also. Equals hash code. It will provide equals and hash code method. And @builder.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, what is the use of hash code method, sir?
Yeah, generally, if you want to get a hash code of your object, which is loaded into your JVM, right?
In the form of integer it will print.
Yeah, whatever. By finding your, object parameters, it will generate a hash code.
Okay.
Okay, that hash code we use to compare the objects, right? Whether both objects are equal or not. How do you know that whether they are equal or not? By seeing their hash code, we can understand what is there inside hash code. It is comparing each field by field and checking, whether both objects are having the same hash code or not.
Okay.
Okay. So those hash code and equals methods, you need not to write. See, if you want to provide all these features to your class, a lengthy code you need to write.
Yes.
With annotations, you need not to do anything. Just install Lombok and let's utilize it. For production, you need not to provide anything. During code development, okay, you used it. You may ask this question, how we can provide it for the production? In production, how we will manage as the software is not available there? It's okay. In production, when you do this build using Maven and when you provide it right to the user, they can consume it. During runtime, you don't need this software.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is all about Lombok, and let's take 5 minutes break, we will start looking into logging, okay? Logging, Swagger, and Mockito, okay? Okay, we will meet in next 5 minutes. Okay, we'll start by 12 o'clock. Quickly, I'll give you few examples on them so that you will get very high level idea what is Swagger and what is the need of logs. Okay, and about Mockito also, how really it is useful in JUnit. Simple, description and one example I'll give you. I'll wind up very quickly, okay? Maybe in regular sessions, you can expect, in depth of each, as there we spent, a lot of hours, right? Yeah. Okay, stay back for next 5 minutes. We'll continue. Yeah, have a break, come back. Hey all. Are you all back? Okay. So we thought it to see about Swagger documentation, right? So now from our last example itself, if you see, do we have any documentation for that? Can we able to see what is our API? If you want to ask students to create your, register your object into application. I mean, if you want to ask them to register, or whoever is working on this client end from the student end, how they will understand they need to pass this kind of structure only, and admin how will understand whoever is developing, right? I'm not talking about the customer. Whoever is developing this client module, student and admin module, they should know about this your request structure and what is your URL. We even did the mistake, right? We created and we forget what is the URL is. So how you will maintain and where do you maintain this? So either one way is you need to create a manual documentation. You need to put your URLs and what is the request and what kind of response you will get. So based on that, client side who is developing, he will decide what request need to send, what response is getting, right? So one thing that you need to maintain the document if you don't have any tool support, right? You need to maintain the document. What are all your request methods and the method types, whether it is a get method or post method or put method, and what kind of input need to be passed here, what kind of response object I'm getting, is it a plain object or a response entity object? They should well aware of it, otherwise they can't able to code, they can't able to integrate with your system. Okay, so for them, if you want to share this documentation, Swagger support given for us. Okay, Swagger support given for us. So let's see the same application, right? Student and course application I will create using a tool. You may not you may not need to use that tool. You may use coding also. Let me generate it with a tool. Okay, so this is one tool to generate complete end-to-end code. Okay, Java code. You may try it. For this, you need not to have any skills. Okay, it is easy to generate Java Spring Boot code. Open project, start new project. Put your package name, what you want, com.rbu, and your application name, student management system. Maven project only I want, Java project. See here they given one option, enable Lombok. They're asking, do you want to use Lombok? Just now we finished with Lombok, right? So if you choose enable Lombok, they will use Lombok annotation. If you don't choose, they don't use Lombok annotation. Everything they will hard code it. So when you use Lombok annotations, they will use Lombok. So why they are asking here is because if you don't install Lombok, right? If you don't install Lombok in your local, it won't work. That's why they given that option there. Yeah. So enable Lombok. Front end, do you want? Front end also this tool will provide. Okay, let me generate front end. Database do you want? Let me use MySQL database. I'll connect with my database. So you need not to have any skills. Okay, just have a database in your local. If you don't have also fine. Use H2 database, in-memory database. And do you want, see one option given, do you want Swagger UI? I will check it. I'll show you what is the need of that. So that's it. I'm not adding anything much. Setup entities. Same student management I'm going to create. So I want one student object. Do you want to add REST endpoints for this? Yes,
Sir,
I
this is
want.
Swagger, sir.
No. This is not for. This is not Swagger UI. This is a Beautify one tool, online tool to generate the code.
Yes, sir. Okay.
I'm just generating Spring Boot code. I will show you what is Swagger. Okay. So I'm adding front end controllers, everything. It is a tool without I am writing code. I'm generating it. So from that generated code, I will show you what is Swagger. ID, name, email. These are the student properties. Student need to enter ID, name, email, and address. Save. So student entity is ready. I want a course also. Course endpoints, course ID, course name, course duration. Save it. Now finally, download this project. One Spring Boot project, beautiful project will be downloaded for you. Do you able to see? Let me share my complete screen. You able to see this, right? Download. One thing is downloaded here. You guys able to see, right?
Yes.
So now extract this. This is like your Spring initializer only. So who don't know, they nothing to worry. Okay, so there is one Spring also provided one option to download the only project structure, not the code, but this tool will provide you code also. So the complete code now I downloaded. Let me import it as a Maven project. Okay, anyway, don't worry about that project. Okay, just here our focus is for Swagger only. Just to share about our project, how we created our APIs. If you want to share that knowledge to front-end teams, we will use that. Okay, now not only for front-end teams, testing teams, all teams can get help because of your application, Swagger. Student management system is created with lot of classes. Open properties file with a lot of properties also it will show. So database URL Jdbc : mysql : /localhost : 3306 / student management system. Let me copy them from different workspace. MySQL connection properties I want. Just whatever database you have, right? Choose your database. No. Where is my database? Just a minute. These all are my MySQL properties. Let me copy them. SMS SQL app is my database name. Let me open my SQL workbench. So this is the database schema that I should have in my local database. I'm connecting with my local DB. Use this database. Okay, this database is there. It is using now. Fine. So your configuration is also ready. Your application is ready now. but I didn't implemented any code here. You need not to implement. Everything is generated. Just to understand this POM file. In this POM file, one web dependency added to generate your controllers and all. One validation dependency added to provide the front-end validations. I mean, for validations from the backend using, all validation annotations, we did that. So this is Spring Data JPA to connect with your database using JPA repository pattern, and to connect with your MySQL database. This is MySQL connector, and it is generated one UI using theme leaf. Okay, front-end code also generated. This is like a complete end-to-end application. So up to here, everything looking fine. Then if you see these dependencies, right? Here, one dependency added, what is Spring Docs Open API documentation added here. This is what going to provide you Swagger UI. It will provide you Swagger UI. This Open UI is going to provide you Swagger UI. With this, without this also, we'll see this application. Now let's run it. Student management system is ready. So you may ask me here how it is generated. They implemented in such a way that Bootify tool to generate code automatically. You given your entities, right? You can find your entities here. Let's wait until your application start. Okay, student management application is started. Go and look into your domain objects. Course and student we created. I mean, in tool we entered the details. I'm opening the student class. See this. Student class is having one entity annotation. This is not Lombok annotation. This is your JPA annotation. This is for doing CRUD operations. Okay, and these getters and setters are Lombok annotations. Okay, and the remaining annotations are again your JPA annotations to map this to your database tables. This is fine. And same way for course also, Lombok annotations it is using setters and getters. Cool. And one controller also generated here, REST API. Your student REST API and course REST API also you can see here. REST controller with request mapping API/student. Multiple methods here it is created. One is to create student, update student, delete student, right? For all these URL is same. Your local host :9090/API/students. If you use post method, the call will come to the post method. And what is the request structure? We don't know still, right? If somebody is new, for them, if I say consume my application, they will ask you how I consume, what is URL, what is the method type, what is the data that I need to pass. So many questions they will have. For all that questions, one single, store or the single answer is Swagger. They nothing to worry to understand what kind of request need to send, what kind of response they will get. Okay, our application is started. Let's use this application. Localhost 9090. See, one student management system application generated with this code, UI also generated. Okay, anyway, tool given that support, we are using it. See all these buttons, fields, everything tool given. Now let me register user. Email, add student. No, it is not adding because it is doing validations also. Here I'm using @valid annotation if you see in post method. So it is not allowing you because it is added not null annotation everywhere. Okay, not null annotation we have from JPA, and this non-null also we have in Swagger, not Swagger, in Lombok. We haven't seen that. Maybe we don't use that much. Okay, so this not null annotation will do validations. Minimum size, I mean maximum size also given here. If you exceed that, it won't allow. So all these fields are not null fields apart from ID. So you need to compulsory enter them. address, HYD, add student. So student successfully added. That record will be there in your table also. Select star from student. So one student record is inserted here. Anyway, now I have API also for this one. UI I have and API also I have. The same student if you want to create, here you need to use the same URL, REST URL. I don't know what is the REST URL. If you are a developer, you must be aware. You copy this, you put it here. Sorry. Create the students, put your URL here. And you may pass here your data. You may pass this student data here. ID is anyway by default your code is generating, nothing to pass. Pass the remaining data, name, email, address. And this is post method. Submit it. So this record also created and sharing the ID. ID2 is created. You may verify it in database. So one more record is inserted. So this API structure, as you know that this is the URL, this is the URL action, and this is the method, this is the request, you are submitting it. But for third parties, if you want to share it, for testers, if you want to share it, how many you will share like this? If your application is having multiple URLs. So as you added open API document here, right? Open API dependency, you have to do nothing. Just go to your local host only for the same application port. Localhost 9090 / use this Swagger UI. Swagger UI / index.html. This is the default URL for Swagger. See, one more UI is generated. This is not by the tool. This is by default Spring is providing. You added this open API document dependency there, right? That is providing this Swagger UI. So if you go to the Swagger UI, it is providing everything. Now, if I give it to you and if I ask you to test, easily you can understand. Okay, it is running. This is the URL. It is running in this server, localhost 9090. Okay, how many controllers it have? It is having two. One is student resource and one is course resource. And how many schemas means how many objects it have? Input objects, output objects. One student DTO object is there, one course DTO object there. These are the variables in that classes. There is one error response object is there. There we have this variable. Field errors there are these variables. And coming to your API, student API, how many methods it have? One get method with this URL. Localhost :9090 /API /student /ID if you can pass, it will give you response. So by reading it, you can understand what is the structure and you can test it also. Just right click on it. It is giving you one field also here. It is saying required. So click on try it out, enter your ID. 1 and 2 students are already there. Give their ID and click on execute. It is giving a record here. So easily testers also can test your microservice. And other integration teams also, they can able to understand what is the request structure. Request is having only ID. Response is required. This response will get this, give this response object, ID, name, email, address, everything. So this is how Swagger will help you a lot to understand about your API. How you implemented, what many methods you have, which is get method, which is post method. Right? Easily you can able to understand from it. Isn't it good? It is good feature, right? It is providing lot of beautiful UI and all the methods and the request and response structures, so that you can share this Swagger URL to your teams. Maybe you can share it to front-end team and you can say, hey, look into this Swagger, try to understand about our controllers. I have two controllers, course controller, student controller, with multiple methods. These all are the APIs. So if you want to call, you need to use the same URLs from your front end also. So they need to consume them and they can able to post data, get data, delete data, anything they can apply on it. Okay, for this special code is not required from this version. Okay, just add this, that's it. Just you need to know about this URL. And if you want to deep dive into Swagger, again, it's a big concept. Okay, Swagger from Spring point of view, this is it. It's a simple to use. Yeah, in application properties, just added this just to filter it out. Even if you don't add it also, no issues. Why I added this is because I have various types of controller classes here. So many controller classes I have here. So only few controllers, let's say only student only, if you want to give access, you may put it here. Student only, you put it here. Your student URL you have, right? Students. So if you want to give access to only students, put this. Now it will allow only student URLs. So your application is restarting. Open your Swagger. Let's load it. Oh, student also gone. Maybe use different prefix. Now everything is gone. Yeah, maybe change the prefix. Okay, API/student instead of, let's say, student API. Now put the student API here in the student resource. Now we are limiting it only for student API, generate the document. It is generated the document only for student API. Course API, not there. So you can limit it. If you want to provide to only some classes only, give that particular classes sub URL here. Okay, prefix here. That's it. It will generate for only that particular classes. If you want to allow for entire application, same use common URL pattern everywhere. API is the common pattern that we used for student and as well as course also. So now it will generate for both student and course. Otherwise, nothing to add. By default, for all your classes, it will generate. Okay, so this is all about your Swagger. Okay.
Yeah, so actually I have one
Yeah.
query, like by using Swagger, is it generating some form of document as well apart from the generating that UI?
Yeah, Open API document also it will provide. So where it is, here you can see. So you can use this Open API document and you can share it to any client. See, if you don't want to give this URL, let's say customer is there somewhere else, they can't able to access it. Okay, so click on it and share it. So what they will do, there is a Swagger tool. Okay. There is a Swagger tool, Swagger UI we call. That is in internet, it is available. Swagger UI. Search for it Go to that Swagger UI. It will ask you to log in. You may log in it. Already I have account, right? I'll log in it. You may download that Swagger UI tool also, no issues. So here they give an option to you. So here you can paste your code and see this definition. Same like for us how it is generated. Same thing it is showing here.
Yes.
You can again export it to code also. The client side, right? If they want to generate client side SDK, Java or consumer end, if they want to generate it, Angular code, TypeScript code, they can generate it. Yeah, that is what I'm saying. Particular to Swagger, if you want to know more, you may join to the regular session. So there I'm going to show you the complete Swagger thing. So here you can generate stubs, means client side. You are the client, you want to generate a code. You can generate the code here. I shared the API with you. You go and paste it and you generate client side SDKs. Kotlin code, Python code, PHP or Scala. You want to generate it in Spring also, Spring option also we have here. Export server side. See here, we have so many options. Out of it, you need to see Spring option also. I'm not able to see Spring. Do you see? Download API. There is a Spring option basically here. Okay. So using this also you can generate your code. Client side SDK, let's say you want to generate code in Java, TypeScript, Angular. Maybe click on it, it will download code. Extract. So something Angular code is generated. Angular API. So Angular TypeScript, course TypeScript file, maybe your services. Edit them. Yeah, see this. One course service also generated for you. So if you are a smart guy, you should be able to do all this with the tools only. You need not to touch your code. If you don't know them, you need to write lot of code. Minimum 30 days is required to implement this application. If you're a smart guy, in an hour you can generate it. The complete front end, back end, everything. Okay, these all are the smart approaches, right? If you know Swagger, Lombok, all these such tools, easily you could able to accommodate all of these in fingertips. Yeah. So this is how Swagger will help you a lot. Now coming to, we understand about Swagger also, right? It is providing UI and as well as open API documentation also. I mean, they can copy that script and they can generate front end code also. You see, right? How beautiful it is generating code as well. Front end teams, even they need not to work. They can generate code, services code, everything. And they can modify from it. Okay. Now coming to Mockito, right? It will provide unit test cases for your classes. Generally, in case of JUnit, as I said, right, when you run JUnit test code, it will generate end to end. If you try to test your controller, controller will call service, service will call DAO, DAO will call DB, and unnecessary data it will print every time. Because if I try to test one component, all other components integrated with it, it will execute JUnit. Whereas in Mockito, right, you can disconnect them. Right, when controller only this piece only you want to test, you can test it. Okay, and when this controller needs a service object, instead of giving original service object, right, in Mockito we can provide mock object, so we can break this connection between them during testing, and we can provide mock objects to each other. So if DAO wants to connect with database, some connection mock objects you can give here, so that it will not really connecting with DB, but it will make sure that your code or whatever lines you implemented here in DAO, that lines statements code is correct or not, only it will check. When you have integration with other system, it will not really execute that system. It will not interact with that system. Why it should not interact? Because if you try to interact every time during JUnit or Mockito test cases, it will send some dummy data. So the main intention of JUnit is your code implemented properly or not. As a developer, you need to verify that your code is meeting all the expectations or not from this JUnit. Instead of doing testing by the testing teams, right, yourself need to write a unit test cases, and you need to able to satisfy all the cases. So your component, you need to verify each component is fit enough to go for the production or not. So why Mockito became so much popular is, while doing deployment of code, right, nowadays we are using Jenkins. So let's say here you have your food app, online food delivery system you have. So when you try to deploy it for next level, means in your servers, SIT server or SIT for testers, we will provide one server, right? Tester server or online food delivery system. Let's say client also will verify in one environment. For a client, we will provide UAT environment. And for customers, we will provide actual customers. For them, we will provide production environment. So your application is going to deploy it into multiple environments. So this is your local environment. In local, you need to work everything, and you need to make sure it is perfect, and you need to push it into next environment. During submitting it to next environment, through Jenkins, we do this. We promote our code from one environment to another environment through Jenkins. In Jenkins, they will configure, verify this unit test case. In Jenkins tool, they will configure, verify unit test cases. Are they satisfying all the scenarios or not? And they will check the code coverage here. So for this, what they will do, code coverage they will run. Code coverage. Code coverage means whatever code you have written here, let's say if you write 1000 lines of code, at least your test cases need to cover up to 800 lines. You written 1000 lines code, so maybe 1000 lines testing may not be possible for you, right? Full code is having 1000 lines. So at least from 1000 lines, you need to verify 800 lines of code, at least. So this code should be functional. 800 lines of code should be as per expectations, which means 800 code means again all your methods, particularly all your methods you need to verify. Maybe the remaining 1000 lines may have your constructors, may have some unnecessary logics also, they may not be required, but all your methods, your business methods, you need to verify them. So Jenkins will do that. So if you are not verifying all your 800 lines of your methods code, it will not even deploy your code to SIT. Okay. So that what is the benefit here is, as an organization, I deployed hundreds of people here in the development. I may not able to monitor them, how they implemented the code. So in Jenkins, if I configure this check, right? If I configure this check, let's say I'm a CEO for this company, I need not to worry about, whether you did good coding or not, because Jenkins will verify that. If you meet this requirement, then only it will push your code here. Otherwise, it will not push your code. So that I can ask your manager that what's happened to application, why they are not deploying it, right? Because you are not meeting your JUnit. So you need to complete all your JUnit test cases, then only Jenkins will allow you to proceed further to next environment. In every layer, it will do that check before proceeding it to next environment. So like that, it will make sure that your code is working perfect. Okay, so here if you see Mockito, right, I implemented, basically I downloaded it, I did not implement it. So here I have multiple classes, a simple API implemented here, one employee controller we have, simple API again. Okay, simple API, here we have create employee, select employee, update employee operations we have. So from this employee class, what I'm calling service class, if you know MVC pattern, right? First we call controller will call service. So to save, it is calling service. In service, we have multiple lines of code. If employee ID is not null, then save it. If employee ID is null, then asking to generate one ID. Okay, I mean, we are asking to find that ID is present or not, because I'm trying to verifying that whether this user is already created user or not. If employee ID is present, what we are doing, we are updating that records, name and email only we are updating, we are not inserting ID. If employee ID is not present, if employee ID is null, okay, we are saving it. If you send an employee ID for update operation, that employee is not there, then show that you are a wrong employee. So like this, I have service method implementations. From service, the call is going to repository. Anyway, for repository, we don't have any implementation. By default, Spring will provide repositories. I'm not testing it. My code is up to controller and service. Now I need to verify that controllers and services from my JUnit. Now let's see, as I said, right, I need to implement each independent component. For DAOs, I have one DAO test. See, this is my DAO test. See how I am implementing it. Basically, I need not to implement much. Okay. So use this extend with Spring extension. Okay, this is coming from Spring testing library. To availability, right, just you need to add test library in your form file. By default, it will add always. You need not to worry about it. Okay. So now data JPA test. We are trying to testing our data JPA class. Independent component, right? Each independent component we need to test and verify. DAO independently, service independently, controller independently. In JUnit, that is not possible, but here in Mockito, that is possible. So auto configuration we are adding. Okay. Now what we are saying here is this DAO need to verify my employee repository. This is a simple interface. I don't have any methods. Hardly I'm using save method or update methods. Okay, I'm auto wiring this employee and testing it. What I'm testing, I'm creating an employee object and calling employee repository dot save and calling this repository dot find all and verifying it. After save, right, I'm verifying whether this record is saved or not. Okay, whether this is saved or not, I'm verifying it. So what I'm doing here, I set that employee is having the values or not, then extracting name. I'm getting the name from that object and checking is it Lokesh or not. So the complete name Lokesh Gupta, I'm verifying Lokesh or not. So if it is fine, it will say true. Then I'm deleting all the records because for testing purpose, I'm interacting with the database. In case if you don't want, you need not to test it. You can ignore it if you want to mock it. Okay, if you want to mock it, you can ignore it. Okay, so if you want to test it to database code also, just insert and delete your data. And finally, assert that employee repository find all is empty or not. I'm making sure that dummy data inserted is deleting it after my testing. Okay, so just to test it, right click, run as JUnit test. it will run only this test create method, and it will say whether your testing is done perfectly or not. So here you have one JUnit option, go there and see it. It is showing green tick mark and this green color here, which means your testing is done. So the test scenario is completed. So if you want to see how it is covering your code, just right click, run. We have code coverage option. Where it is. Maybe from here you can coverage, run coverage test. Here it is not showing it. We can find this in Eclipse. So coverage test also we should able to see here. Code coverage it will show. Anyway, nothing to worry. I'll see that option in Eclipse. Okay, so this is how DAO we implemented. So forget about DAO. Mockito we are not using anything here. Let's see about service. Now service it should not connect with your database. Okay, so service should not connect. Independently we should able to test our service. So see this service test I created, extend with Mockito extension. And here, whatever service class you want to test, create that service class instance and say inject mocks. If you see original service class, it is having employee repository object, but I'm not going to use original employee repository object. If I use original employee repository object, it will connect with database. I don't want to do that. So what you need to do, I'm getting permission here for the service class. I will inject the mocks. I'm saying I'm not going to inject original object. I will inject the mocks. So it inject mocks annotation I'm using. And for repository, right, dummy fake object I'm creating here. Employee repository is a dummy object, a simple mock object. It is not the actual original object. It is a fake object. So what will happen now when you try to run this test class, right? This mock object will be injected into your service, this class, right? Into this service class, this repository will be injected. Now I have list of employees. I'm adding all that list here and calling my DAO.findAll method. Then it will return list. So why I'm calling this when, I'll show you. Okay, so basically what I want to test here, test to find all employees method I want to test. Find all employees method is there in my service class. In my service class, find all method is there. I want to test that method. Yeah, this is the find all method. If you open this find all method, see this code. If somebody try to call this method, immediately it will call the repository find all method. But this line, right, 42 line, we need to bypass. We need to say don't execute the original employee repository. So how you will do that? Go to test class and see. So this find all test method finally is going to call service.findAll here in line number 52. Here I am calling find all. So if it is trying to call original one, it will bring all the data from database. So generally when you call it right on this find all method, we need to bypass it. How you will bypass it? That is what we are doing here in line number 49. When somebody try to call DAO find all from your service, right? Here, when somebody try to call your DAO find all, we are saying that don't call it. When somebody call DAO find all, then return them this list. So whatever employee list you created, right? That dummy employees list, it will create fake employees list. This employees list originally not there in database. So we are saying when somebody try to call this DAO.findAll, for them return this dummy list. So that dummy list is returning. So that we are verifying the other logic. The remaining logic, if you have right any logics here, that logics it will verify. Only the integrations it will avoid. So then we are verifying asset equals. Is this employee list size is 3 or not? Yes, 3. So that we can make sure that the same number of equal number of records, whatever there in the DB, that same records we have here. And we are verifying DO also. DAO find all, it will have only 0 records. It should not have anything. What it is doing times of 0 times of 1. Okay, it is making that verify only one time it is invoking. Okay, only one method we are calling, not many methods. Now run this only one method and see. So this service also executed. This service also executed. So 2 assets we have there. 2 assets we have there. That okay. Is it executed all methods? Okay, it executed 2 methods. If you want to execute only one method, right click on that method and execute it. Yeah, now only one method executed. Okay, this is how you can mock your service and inject mock of DO object and test your services. Same thing for controller also. So here we are extending with Spring extension and web MVC test. So we are going to test this API class, right? This is API class. This is not a plain class. So same thing here. Same thing here. Auto wide mock MVC object. Auto wide mock MVC object. And we are mocking a bean class. Employee service is going to inject into your controller class. So original controller, if you check, the service is injecting here. Okay, so we are mocking this using mock bean and injecting into this web mock. Finally, using this web mock, you are going to test your employee controller only. So what we are saying here, using web mock, we are trying to calling employee. Okay, and one record only we are trying to getting location object I want. Okay, employee location object I want. So I'm trying to calling it here. Okay, and I'm expecting it. Status is okay. And so JSON should have only one object size. And the first name of your JSON array should have location. Okay. So when I call basically this create employee method in controller, if you go and if you call this create employee method, right? What is happening here? It is calling your service and save. Right? I need to bypass it again. Somebody when try to call, I need to bypass this line number 28. So if you see that clearly it is doing it. Mockito.when, or else you can do static import of when also as it is static method. When employee service dot find all, if anybody try to call you find all method from this method, then return them this employee object. This dummy employee object it will return. So basically what will happen, whatever integration layer you have, that is avoiding here for the controller also. So now when you test it, your controller also will be perfectly tested. Finally, you see this is also success. So now if you want to test all the classes, okay, you want to test your beans also you need to test. Okay, employee application test. Your bean classes also, if you want to test, you can test them. For beans also you can write. For getting more coverage, right? As much as number of scenarios you can cover here, so that it will provide good code coverage. Run as a JUnit test. And open this window and see. Total 9 test cases we have. So far 6 executed, 8 executed, 9 executed. So if you see this 9, right? 9 test methods are executed. 9 test classes basically. Again, each is having multiple methods. So all your test cases are executed. If I have code coverage option, I would have shown you here. Maybe let me try to install. Okay, quickly we will wind up the session. Okay. One logging example I will show you. That will not take much time. Already we have code.
Sir, can we get access to this particular recorded video session?
Video session, I hope they will upload into YouTube.
Okay.
So everyone should able to see post this session.
Okay, fine.
Actually, I forget to create a group. If I would have created, everybody should be able to register. Okay, so you install this, okay? ECL ECMA tool. It will do code coverage. Quickly, what I will do, I'll create a group. You guys can join there. I'll share it. Let me create it. During morning itself, I should have done this. It's okay. Restart. Okay, cool. Restart it.
So tomorrow also there will be a session on microservices or what?
No. Regular sessions will be there. Recently started batch. 7:30 a.m. batch is there during weekdays only. It's Monday to Friday.
Okay. And the duration will be like how long? I mean,
That is 50-day session, including Spring Boot microservices.
okay.
Today 26/11. We remember this day as bad day, right? Yeah. So I created a group. Let me share this URL to everyone. Please join there. Let me quickly share with you. Yeah, I shared this. I shared this in the group chat. Okay, go to the chat and click on it. You will be adding into group. So any communication, further communications, right? I'll there. Okay. Now this ECMA also added. Let's run coverage also. Right click. Coverage as. Now see one more option added. Coverage as JUnit test. Same way your JUnit test cases will be running. See, finally, it is highlighting all test with the green colors. So go to your DAO test or service test. Okay. In service test, check this method. This method is covering which code? See, it is showing the complete code in green color. Okay. This is showing in green color. Basically, we are testing find all method. Go to find all method and see. In find all method, it is completely covering, which means everything is in green. And code coverage percentage also you see here. 79.2%, which is good percentage. Code coverage instructions 435, missed instructions 114, total instructions 549. So organizations will allow up to 80, 85. Okay, you need to achieve up to that. Of course, it is difficult, but we don't have any options. We need to, cover our code. So every method you can check. Every method you can check how much code is coverage. Save method, how much code it is covering. If you go to save method, whatever method you implemented, that is a new employee object. So as his ID is not there, it is calling it. Then what about this case? This is also need to be covered. So you need to provide one more method to cover this else block also. Otherwise, this will be ignored. Then it will show it as a uncovered code. See, wherever you find this uncovered code, for that uncovered situations also you need to write your JUnit. Delete, not at all tested. So that easily whoever runs this code coverage, they can from this coverage tool.
What about the yellow color ones?
Remove, go here. Those are partially covered things. If you have some cases like, yeah, see, is present, is one case you tested, perfect. If it is not present, where is that case? That also you need to test.
Okay.
For false case also you need to test it. For true case you tested it, it is saying that, hey, you tested only for true case. Where is the false case?
Okay,
if you implement false case, it will become green and this also will be covered. The else also will become green. This also will become green.
Okay, got it, sir.
Okay, yeah.
So
100% coverage you need to achieve. I mean, up to what maximum you can able to. If there is something that you can't able to achieve, that is fine. Okay, so because of Mockito, at least we could able to do this, right? Easily we could able to test it. Okay, so with practice you will easily understand what is Mockito. It's not a big thing, a small tool. Okay. Yeah, and let me import one logging project, final touch. Okay, logging, as I said, right, we need to record everything on daily basis, what's happening to your application, otherwise there is no trace. Let me import that project.
Sir, REST template is also there, no, sir? Is there any difference between a REST template and unit testing?
REST template is a class which will help you to connect to microservices.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a class, helper class, which is helping to connect two microservices. Let's say when you implement 10 services for your project, if one services want to consume other service using this REST template or fin client or web client, right? Any REST approaches, you can connect with it.
Yeah, okay.
Switch workspace. Let me switch to new workspace. There I have logging example. Yeah. Let's see this logging project. Okay. Spring by default providing logging support with logback. Okay. Logback support it is providing. So whenever you create a application, right, a Spring Boot application, just add your logback XML file, logback-spring.xml. This is for logging. Okay. So in this logback XML file, nothing you need to touch, the same kind of configuration you create. And basically, when you deploy your application, right, let's say this logback is part of your student management system, like DURGASOFT taken this application and deployed it. Okay, they are consuming it. Last 1 year back, I deployed it. Right, daily students are coming to DURGASOFT, they are registering it. They are registering, right? So if I use only one file, into one file only, if I log everything, okay, if I am using only one file for all these 365 days, and if I log the requests which are coming from the user, right, if somebody delete that, I may lose all the history, 365 days history. If I want to verify one student when he came and when he registered, I need to open that big log file which is having thousands lines of code, log code. I need to verify. So instead of that, in this logback configuration file, here they given the rotation, right? File name automatically will rolling. So how it will roll? When for every day, right? Time-based rolling we option given option here, which means if date changes, for today it will create one file. Again, when date changes 12, it reaches to 12 AM, right? For the next day, it will generate one more new file. And within the same day also, if you don't want to create a large file, let's say in the month of November, so many sessions are starting. Okay, so many students are coming and they are registering. Within that day itself, let's say 100 MB file created. To understand that 100 MB file, you feel that it's a heavy file. Put your limit here. In that day itself, only 10 MB only I want to create a file. If it exceeds more than 10 MB, within that day itself, I want to generate 2-3 more files. So just give here something 5 KB. 5 KB means for one student itself, it will consume 5 KB. Okay, so now see this application. In my application, you know how many types of logs you have. Okay, log info, log error, log trace, log debug, error, war, so many things we have. We know where we need to use them. If you want to give warnings which are not really serious, you can use warn. If it is going to exception blocks, you can use log error in that exception block, right? If you want to trace something flow wise, right, you can use the trace. If you want to print information about your object, you can use info. In debug mode only, if you want to see something, you can use debug. Okay, a simple dummy thing I am implementing here. So if you want to print them, you need to enable that level also here in this properties file. Okay, debug level, if you make it true, so it will print everything. Trace level, if you put traces also, if you print. Okay, anything you can make it true here. Debug trace. Okay, now this application is running in port number 9090, and by default log files where you want to generate. Do you want to generate these log files into your local system? Give your local system path. Do you have a remote mission? Give that remote mission path if you have access. So there it will generate your log file. So I given one logs folder, which is from the same machine, same application. So just go to this application and remove that already existing log folder.
Hi, sir. Sir, this is Log4j framework. I can see.
Yeah, log4j only. Yes.
Okay.
For distributed tracing and all, we will use different servers like Zipkin server, if you are aware of microservices, right? We'll discuss more about logging and tracing in microservices. If you want, maybe I'll conduct another workshop for distributed tracing and all. You may see there. There are separate tools also. We have ELK for such, Kibana or Sleuth with Jipkin dashboards. So many things are there. So now my application is started. Just I wanted to show you the importance of log here and how it will generate using logback. Maybe a quick introduction will help you, to explore yourself more, right? That is what my agenda here. So if you get a basic idea that, we have such tools and we can able to do so and so using that tool, you may refer, other Google, you may Google it and you can learn quickly, very quickly. Okay, this application is starting. It is building. Okay.
So this logback is already given from the STS itself, or we need to edit as a third-party dependency and all?
Logback is coming up along with your web. You need not to add anything. Spring Boot is providing.
Okay. So during the configuration, we don't need to, explicitly going for any adding of the dependency and all. It will
Nothing
be
required.
okay.
It is part of your web dependency only. So that is the beauty with Spring Boot. So many things it is putting on its head, and it is not making, it is not making developers' job tough. It is making it simple. Everything it is adding, you just need to configure whatever you want. The basic, very basic things. That's it. Let me get it into other workspace. This workspace is having problem. Let me open new workspace.
Are you planning to conduct any workshop on microservices as well?
Maybe next month.
Okay.
Not in December, in January. This month I am really occupied.
Okay.
Microservices, basically the problem is having huge content. Okay. So many design patterns we have, so many integrations we have. So I'll prepare some fine-grained content which we can able to deliver in that 16 hours, and I'll conduct it. Yeah.
So as per your current regular session is going on, actually, how many days for you have planned for the microservice?
Microservices used to be happened almost for 15 days.
Okay. And the timing will be from 7:30 to
7:30 to 8:45 every day.
Okay, 1 hour, right? 1:5.
Yeah. Okay, it is already there. That's it. 1 hour, 1.5 hour daily. Sweet and short sessions. I'm not going to prolong discussions too much there. Practical sessions only I'll show. What is the use case? What is the need of the topic? And directly we'll jump into examples so that we'll get the conclusion on the session itself on daily basis. Just by the end of the sessions, what we do, we integrate all the topics together and we'll make an application so that we'll see the complete picture also end to end. Okay, so your application is started. So much log also it is printing because I enabled that debug and trace, right? Otherwise Spring Boot is not going to show this much log. Okay, let it generate. Something is generating. Okay, now let's check this folder. there will be one file generated inside your logs folder. Logs. See, one logback file is there and one archive folder also it is created. See how many files it is created. We given only 5 KB, right? But as the log is writing here, overriding here very fast, it is unable to limit that also. So 7 KB, 9 KB, 17 KB, 15 KB, so many files created between this time itself. Around, 116 one file, 116 one more file, third file, fourth file. See, lot many files. Maybe you can give 100 MB file or 50 MB or 20 MB file maximum. So for a day, if it is going to take beyond 20 MB, it will create another file. As I given 5 KB, so many files it is generating. Again, if I open, I see, okay, it is stopped. Now let me call the user. Localhost trace. Is it the method? Localhost log, I believe. Log. You can check output in your logs, sure. I don't know which file need to verify, maybe very recent file. We given very aggressive limit, right? Maybe the last archived file. Not this one. It's a very, very small log document. Okay, just increase the size so that, yeah, here we can see. Okay. So this is how you can implement logs also. For tracing and tracking purpose, we have different tools. Okay, maybe in regular sessions, I'll show that. Okay, so please all, okay, what I will do, I will share these examples. Whatever we did here through Git, I will upload into Git and I'll share the Git link here as well as in YouTube also, right? I'll put that Git link in the comments. Maybe if you refer your any friends, right, they can see and they can download also. For you, I'll share it in the WhatsApp group. Do you have any questions?
Yes, sir. Actually, can I just, request the consent team to upload this recorded session into the YouTube so that we can get an access to that as well?
No, they definitely upload it. I will share it. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
post this session immediately. Maybe after their lunch, admin team upload it. They don't wait even a single minute if they are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Because many staff, trainers are not allowing to upload their videos. For me, I don't have any such concerns. Since 2015, all my sessions allowing them to upload. Because, I'm seeing many people from outside the world who are not having the access. Because in Hyderabad, particularly in India, we have so many institutes. Nowadays, we are connecting through online. Earlier, we don't have that approach. And who are not able to prepare or are not able to join. For them, that videos are helping a lot. Okay. So
yes,
many videos are there. Mine spring videos. There, I'm little matured, not like now, because almost 6-7 years back, I uploaded them, whatever knowledge I have. You may refer that videos also if you want. Spring videos, Hibernate, struts, servlets, everything is available in DURGASOFT channel.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, just one question. Manish Soni this side. So
Yeah,
this is different. Whatever we have actually done last time. I'm from 730 batch, right? So this is different. You are going to start, okay? Or this is a similar kind of.
In regular session, you are saying?
Yes.
When did you join? Your batch is completed or you are from new batch?
Yeah, already completed. Last
acha.
means
Hmm.
you told us, right, like there
Okay.
is some class, final class you are going to take,
Okay,
right?
that is for transactions and security, right? Next weekend I'm
Yes.
planning it. Yeah,
Yes.
these all are the additional topics basically, not including in Spring.
Okay.
For this batch, I covered it.
Okay.
Maybe every weekend I'm conducting these workshops, right? Attend it. If any
Okay.
topics is missing there, you can get them here. Okay.
Okay. So
And
this is you are going to share on WhatsApp this
the
link or how?
Git link I will share it in WhatsApp.
And this means Saturday, Sunday sessions link.
I will share to all my groups. You can, who all wants to join, right? You can join there.
Okay. Okay.
As
Thank you.
you have groups, right? So all
Yes.
that group all that groups, I am also available, right? I'm sharing you.
So,
Okay.
sir, one more actually question to know, like this related to micro profile.
You asked me.
Yeah, anytime you are planning.
Yeah, share me any references if you have. I will go through them. Maybe one weekend we'll plan it, not next coming weekend. Maybe
Okay.
after that.
Okay, sir. Okay, no issue.
Yeah, send me if you have any such concepts. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, Lalit, I can hear you.
Yeah. Actually, sir, I want to know you. Okay, what is RESTful services? Actually, most of the time I confused in RESTful services.
RESTful services with you are comparing with anything? So it's a simple REST protocol. They are protocol based, right? SOAP is SOAP protocol. REST is using, HTTP protocol. Just their request and response structures and the request style is different. When you compare with, right, there are many styles. If you start from very beginning, right, how multiple systems used to communicate, right, through files. Later it is improved and remote invocations came. Later it improved and distribution technologies came. Later it improved and RPC styles came. Later it improved to SOAP based, SOAP to REST based. Okay, so so many so much evolution happened between. So this REST is a simple a stateless protocol using with the HTTP request and HTTP response styles only.
Okay. And web services is the part of RESTful services.
Web services we achieve. Web services is a concept for distributed computing. There we have multiple styles. Okay, let me explain to you. I may not go in depth, but let me cover. Okay, so basically when application you see it is very big, one server is not able to handle it, particularly a bank application is having so many modules. Okay, manager is having a different set of activities, and for customer we have different application with all transactions, fund transfers, recharge. So for recharge, let's say they have one more module. So like this, they have multiple modules in the application, like 10 modules they have. All these 10 modules, if they deploy into one server, you may not scale it up. You may not scale it up. So you need to break it down into multiple pieces. So there the distribution computing started, right, in first evolution. So you need to distribute it to multiple servers. So few modules you need to keep it here, few modules you need to move it to another server. So from this servers to this server, if you want to make communication, because some manager classes may need to interact with, or some customer classes may need to interact with recharge classes. If they want to communicate, the communication styles, we have so many styles here for communicating it. In simple Java, we have RMI concept, remote method invocation, or you can use simple serializable files. Serializable files you can send over the network, you can read it. RMI style, remote method invocations you can use. Jdbc is having the stubs and skeleton part. Using EJB session beans, you can do this communication. And web services came here. Web services to make it interoperable. EJBs, RMI, serializations, all these concepts need to use Java concepts only. When it comes to web services, so here these teams can independently work. This team can work on Java, this team can work on Python, .NET, some other technologies. They will use some common medium. Instead of using Java medium, they will use some common medium, common protocols, which everybody will understand. Let's say I'm a Telugu guy and you are a English guy. For us, the common medium is English. If I know Telugu and if you know Hindi, if we don't know each other, Telugu and Hindi, we will talk it in English, which is the common medium for us. Okay, so here in web services, they find out that common protocols, RPC protocols, SOAP protocols. Protocol is a rule that everybody is following. SOAP protocol, protocol, REST. So using these styles, the web services started their evolution. Okay, so these are the simple protocols that we follow. If I know the REST, you also should know the REST. So then we can able to talk. Entire world is following these protocols. So that if I develop my application in SOAP or REST, I can be so much confident that everybody else also know the REST, so easily they can able to consume it. If you want to go in depth into it, each one is having its own benefits, its own pros and cons. Okay.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
but this is what happened. Now microservices also same thing. It is not different from web services. Microservices, we named it in Spring. So Spring provided so many features for achieving this distributed computing in the form of microservices. And the patterns also it is different, but it's more or or less something like your distributed computing only. Okay. And it is penetrating with the clouds. Nowadays, cloud is important for us, right? For deployment of your applications and all. So many cloud integrations they given as part of microservices. And for current agility also it will support. That's a different topic altogether. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And got it, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. So that's all from my side. Thanks everyone for spending your time and utilizing it. Okay. I will upload the video and I'll upload the examples on that video link itself. I'll give the Git link also. So maybe by this post lunch, you will see the video also. Okay. If you don't able to find, I will share it in our groups itself about today's session. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Good
Thank you,
day.
sir.
And yeah. Bye.